We went from having like a thriving business that was profitable, that was doing well, to losing 80% of that overnight. I sort of picture my life like the Matrix in that moment. Do you want to take the red pill or do you want to take the blue pill, right? Do you want to keep going or you want to quit? Your goal in leading your team is to be the person that you need it in your darkest moment. In the same business, I've rebuilt the whole thing like 3 times. I looked at it and I was like, we got to see what we're made of. Like what is life if you don't see what you're made of? Let's do it again.
Welcome to The Business Game, the show that breaks business down into real levels, from $0 to $200 billion, so founders can see exactly where they are and what comes next. Today's guest is playing at level 4, the scale builder stage. At this level, multiple teams are running, revenue is climbing, and operational complexity is real. The challenges? System breaking under growth, cultural strain, and the friction that comes when speed meets structure. The goal? Build operational discipline without killing momentum or culture.
This is the business game.
So, Dave, to start with, tell me about Viral Ideas. What you do, how you got started, and your trajectory so far.
Yeah. So Kalina, thanks so much for that question. The funny thing about the company is it actually started really, really small. It started with me and a business partner and $200, right? So like when you think about starting a company, a lot of people think you need a lot of money. They think you need a lot of resources, but really the whole origin of the business was started with just like 2 of these, $100 from me, $100 from my business partner, which, when we first started, it was really, a process of me going out and hunting business and finding business out there and bringing that back for Zach to implement and go create something with that. So, today, flash forward to today, we are a 90-person company with, people based in, I think, about 7 or 8 countries around the world. So it's really taken shape from that like disorganized chaos in the beginning of a startup phase to like more of like a corporate structure that we have today.
Yeah, awesome. And with that, in that like chaotic beginning part, did you have any background or were you just like, nope, let's do this, throw things at the wall and see what sticks? How did you sort of fumble your way through and get to where you are now?
Yeah. So I love to tell this story. It was my senior year of college and I was figuring out what I wanted to do next in life. And I got an opportunity to go interview at Google, which supposedly was like one of the best companies in the world to work for. And I just finished watching, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie with Vince Vaughn, The Internship.
I
just finished watching that movie.
Into my
it's
brain
such
immediately.
It's such a great movie.
The scene of them in the library.
So I just finished watching that movie. I was like, this is going to be the best place to work ever.
Yeah.
And I'm going through like these rounds of interviews with this person. And I got through the first one. I was like, all right, this could be cool, but like, I'm gonna have to bring my own flavor to it. Like I'm gonna, like when I get there, I'm gonna like buy an RV with my like relocation bonus and I'm going to like live in the Google parking lot and I'm just going to like eat all the food there and I'm just going to be like the guy that lives in the parking lot. And then I got to the second round of interview. I was like, wait a second. I'm just like trying to create something that's not actually going to fit in this culture, right? Like this is not me. And I got to the third round of interviews. I was like, gosh, I don't want to be the person that's on the other end of the phone that I'm talking to, when I'm interviewing there. And all at the same time this is happening, I'd started working on the business that I'm working on today. While I was in school with Zach, who's my business partner, and we're starting to make a little bit more money with it. And I eventually said like, hey, like I think I just want to like, stand on my heels with this entrepreneurship thing. And instead of like tipping my toe in the water, I think I want to like go all in and like actually turn this into a real business. So we incorporated, and like that first year in business, I think we made like $40,000 for the whole year. And it was like barely enough to pay ourselves like a couple $100 a month. And, we both fortunate enough like to live at home for a little bit. So that like saved some money those first couple years in business.
Yeah.
So I think like those early days were like a really interesting time of like both like personal creativity, but also just like, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I didn't know, I didn't know how the company should be structured. I didn't know like what I could charge for things. Like, I didn't know how to manage people, like all these like common issues that, a 22-year-old starting a business would probably come across. I think I hit every single one of them, every single challenge.
Yeah. Wow. And it's such an interesting time too, when you're in that it's exciting and you can see that big vision and you want to just shoot for the moon. And then, you kind of don't know who to trust or who to like ask questions to either around those big topics around like, okay, well, how do we structure this and how do we deal with this and who do we hire next and all those big things. How did you maintain your creativity and your vision while still growing this business?
Yeah, it's what's interesting is you can hold two things true at the same time, right? Like creativity needs structure, and creativity also needs a boundless, right? So like it's both holding the bound and the boundless in your hand at the same time. And I think when you're building a business, you want to dream really big, right? You want to think about what could this thing look like in 10 years? Absolutely. It's going to have this many people. It's going to take care of this many lives. It's going to, support my family. It's going to it's going to go public, all these big, dreams that you could have for it.
Yes.
And then also at the same time, you need to understand the confines of what you have, right? Like in the beginning, really not that much, right? Like you had, we worked in the back of this office of one of our clients. It was actually this like extra room that they used for storage. So we literally like worked in this windowless storage room for a while. And like quite literally what was interesting is like we were a bunch of like boundless new entrepreneurs, like that put ourselves in a bound box to create what we've built. And what's interesting is like we've sort of learned to play both sides of those things, both in the work of building the business and the work of working on the clients, and creating a structured system that works to corral a bunch of really creative people, but also creating a boundless system that allows them to create in ways that really impress our clients.
Yeah, amazing. Very humble beginnings. I love those stories. So as the company got more complex, dozens of editors and clients moving at once, what would you say is the biggest bottleneck that you hadn't seen coming?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Sure.
I don't know if you've ever read the book The Goal by Ellie Goldratt. It's actually right here. I have it. It's one of my favorite.
The Goal.
It's actually a fable.
Ooh,
and it's called he writes about this topic called the theory of constraints, which is to say that a business or a system will not grow past its largest bottleneck or its largest constraint. So a couple of the things that we hit over time were, we had this process where we had a quality assurance review, right? And videos were reviewed by quality assurance. Well, once you start, when you're only making like 20 videos a week, it's an easy problem to solve. Like one person just looks over all the videos before they go out and, sends them off to clients. But when, now we make like probably 1,000-ish videos a week. So when we're trying to make 1,000 videos a week, you can't just have like one person sitting there watching client work all day. Like it creates a giant bottleneck in the system.
Yeah.
So you have to come up with both creative and structured ways to like unbound a lot of that, a lot of those solutions. Other ones too are like, hey, like we're not getting enough leads for the amount of throughput we need in our current system. So, I think the work in any business needs to go through to that area that is most constrained in the business. Yeah. For us right now, it's probably, for us right now, it's actually sales calls, right? Like, we are, myself and one other person on the team are like quite literally on sales calls, like 30 hours a week. So, we're bound up and we're constrained by the amount of sales calls we're able to take as a business. So like, even if we wanted to take in more leads, we can't fulfill those leads and take care of those people that are reaching out to us, that are asking us for new business. Like we could fulfill it on the back end, but like there's like two people that are like handling 30 hours of sales calls per week. And it's like bound up that system. So once we unconstrain that bottleneck and we're able to like put someone in place or put multiple people in place to take care of the sales piece, it'll allow us to grow a little bit more boundlessly.
Yes.
And then we'll create another problem, right? Like then the problem is probably going to be like our fulfillment system's going to break, right? So then we got to go fix that.
Like,
it's never ending. It's never ending.
No,
new levels, new
problems
devils.
don't go away as you scale. They just get bigger and change.
Yeah, exactly.
Shapeshift. So now obviously you're playing at level 4 and have stepped out of being a doer and into a more of a CEO role. So with all of that hard-won advice under your belt, what would you tell our listeners to watch out for as business operations become a little bit more complex?
the biggest thing that I've learned about myself in running the business is you need to seek help. And you need to not just rely on yourself. I think we've all seen the leaders, and you could spot them from a mile away. We've all seen the leaders that think they know everything. And to me, that's oftentimes the worst leader. It's the one that leads with ego instead of being humble, right? And I think your job as a CEO, as you sort of move up the chain, is to collect information and make decisions based on that information that you're getting. It's not necessarily to come down and be like, hey, this is the way we're doing it because I think it's the right way, right? You have to look at the whole picture of the stakeholders, right? And one decision, like now there's so many moving parts in our business. If I turn one lever, it could affect 3 or 4 or 5 other people in the food chain, right? Yeah. And then like that goes down to other people, that goes down to other people. And I turn a little dial and it like throws everything off.
Yes.
So everything has to be thought through very methodically. You have to kind of act a little bit slower and more deliberately. Yes. So I think that's the number one thing. Also seeking, business coaching, right? Like if you're not unsure on a decision, or even if you think that, I think the key thing is even if you think you're 100% sure on a decision, that's the moment you should pause and go ask a mentor or go ask someone who's walked the path before you. Because I think that's where you make the most mistakes, and the mistakes at, 5 people are a little bit different than the mistakes at 90 people.
Yes. Yeah. That's such good advice. And with that, for anyone in our audience who is running a productized service right now, in your opinion, what's the first non-negotiable system they need to install? And was there like a hire or a system that really pulled you out of the chaos?
I would say, okay, so systems are essentially what run the archetype of the business, right? And then the people are the ones that are following that process. So you always have to ask yourself, do you have a systems problems or do you have a people problem? Whenever you're encountering any type of problem inside of a business. If you're running a productized service in particular, you need a mechanism to run and fulfill your products, right? So like when orders come in, you need to have a system that allows you to receive those orders and move the order through the assembly line to finish that order in a methodical way, right? Otherwise, you're not really running a repeatable productized offering, right? So there has to be, what clients are buying into if you have a productized offering is your methodology and your system for doing things. They're not necessarily buying you anymore. So what you need is, we use a platform called SPP. There's also other ones in the market. And that runs a lot of the client front end, that runs a lot of the portal. And on the back end, you can use a system like a project management system. There's a million of them out there, but we really love ClickUp. So we built a lot of custom automations so that when orders come in, you don't have to click a million times. You just get automated and it goes into like a nice order flow for customers. So almost think about it like in the most simple way, right? Yeah. If you ever go to like a fast casual restaurant, I don't know if they have Chipotle's in Australia, but that's my favorite fast casual restaurant.
Don't have it yet. It's so sad.
You don't have it yet? Oh, it's a shame. That's sad. That's really sad. But in the US, we have restaurant Chipotle, and they in the front you'll put in an order, and they have a very simple way of like going down an assembly line and assembling that order. Same thing if you order online, there's a ticket that pops up in the back, and then like the person in the back is manufacturing your order, right? So if you kind of start to observe some of those systems that the big companies use, or even some small companies put into place, you should implement those into a productized service. So everything's repeatable, simple, and scalable in what you do.
Yeah, I love that. I actually want to jump back to the previous question/answer that you spoke about in terms of being a CEO and stepping out of thinking that you know it all, because that's it is really releasing that ego. This just came to me, and I really want to ask, how do you still hold the vision when you are allowing these other people to, obviously that they've got the skill set, but let's say there's a conflict of interest, especially in a creative space. I think there's a lot of creative conflict that can happen. How do you then go, okay, no, I'm making the final call? What do you have a bit of a system where you go, okay, how do you make a choice based on X or do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
I know exactly what you're trying to ask.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so this actually used to be a chaotic thing, right? The exact problem you're describing, which is how do you make decisions? How do you get your company to kind of work autonomously and know what decisions to make? And what's your like litmus indicator for making a decision, right?
Yes.
And I think what we come back to is we are constantly coaching and repeating the core values that we have in our company. Almost every single meeting, we take a moment to remind people what our mission statement is, to remind people what our value set is. And these are a list of shared values, and you have to follow them. It's like our culture, if you take the first 4 words of those, it's a cult, right? Like, like if you come here, like you're joining a cult. And our mission statement, is make creativity simple, scalable, and impactful by communing human imagination with cutting edge technology. And we have 8 core values: do great work, always be innovating, never stop learning, make it happen, integrity and transparency first, commitment to profitability, always on time, and admit weakness. So, every meeting we're calling out people in our organization that are following those core values and pointing to them. We're being like, hey, Mary's doing an awesome job with commitment to profitability. She was able to cut, 7 softwares, then reduce our monthly cost by $700 this month. Great job, Mary. Or, transparency first. Hey, this client, we need to deliver some bad news. Their project's running late, but we were super transparent about why. And we didn't lie to them. We said that, hey, we completely missed the order. We didn't, completely miss this. We didn't make up some crazy story that oh, we're working on it. We haven't started it yet. We made a mistake. Sorry, we're going to start it now. So like all those things we're calling out in real time, and we're letting people know those values. We also have a set of principles and trainings that go along with that. So, it's basically a set of inputs and outputs. So our head of operations always likes to talk about what is the triggering moment to run a certain process. So, for example, let's say there's an issue with a client, we have a client escalation process. So what triggers that? There's a whole list of things that trigger running this process, right? Yeah. So, the first, it might be, hey, a client is, upset about how a certain edit went. Okay, maybe that one's not quite an escalation process, but a client says they're going to pause their services because they didn't like how something was going. Okay, that's a client escalation. Mm-hmm. So they have to fill out a certain thing, go through a certain process, and they have to understand what goes into that. So really, it's like a set of core values that we all follow, which kind of guides us, combined with a set of trainings and systems that allow inputs to equal outputs, in our system, and then a set of principles that guide us, right? So it's sort of like our own little Viral Ideas Bible, if you will, that we follow, and allows everyone to kind of work as one hive mind every single day.
I love that. That is so cool, because that is such an interesting and important way to what's the word I'm looking for? To really bring home those values, and to be pairing it with examples in real time, like you said, and going, okay, this value was seen here. And not only is the person who did that receiving that recognition and going, oh yeah, I did do that, but also to have their coworkers see that in real time and make that connection. So cool. I think that's really powerful that you're doing that. Wow. I love that. So I'm really interested in some of the day-to-day of how you run Viral Ideas. I'm sure it's not every day is the same. So how do you navigate having team members all over the world, and how do you keep your output seamless?
Interesting question. So as far as our operational system, right? We're structured like a traditional company, right? We have an org chart, and we have a couple of people that report to me, and then people that report to them, and then people that report to them. So it's a very hierarchical structure in that way, where it's, decisions that need to be made at my level are made at my level. Decisions are made one level below or made one level below. And we really like to give all people autonomy to make their own decision and sort of run their own business inside of our business, right? So we kind of look at it like each individual pod leader that runs a set of clients is running their own sort of franchise inside of our business. And they're actually rewarded when that franchise does well, right? So they have a bonus structure that, if they keep clients for a long period of time, if those clients are profitable, if their clients are happy, all those things are unlock different levels of bonuses inside that core leaders, inside that leader's, day-to-day business. And then as far as, as far as what we do to, keep the outputs running, it's really just kind of installing scorecards for every single person. So, I think a lot of companies will do a major disservice with not letting people know where they stand in the organization, right? Absolutely. So like at any given time, like folks in our organization have a scorecard and they can see how they're doing, right? They can see like, okay, like this is like what I'm measured against, right? This is like, this is what good is, I'm like average and I want to get to good, but like, here's my plan to get to great. And then, they have some metrics that they're judged on so that way they know where they stand in the organization. And I think the worst thing you can do to an employee inside an organization is keep them in the dark about how they're doing. And I think it's the cruelest thing that a manager can do is like not tell someone when they're not doing a good job.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And as someone who's incredibly competitive, can everyone else see where everyone's scorecards, or is it private?
That we're working on. So right now, the scorecards are private.
Yeah.
But in the next quarter, we're going to roll out like public scorecards so everyone can see where everyone stands.
Yeah.
But also more so than competition, it also will, push up the, camaraderie around like, how do we achieve these goals and how do we make sure that we're all doing great? So, a lot of the goals and the bonuses and the way we structure them are like, if everyone does well, everyone else does well. So it's sort of like a hive mind in there. And like, if there's a weak player in the system, it sort of forces that person to kind of rise to the occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's like, maybe there could be like a bonus point for someone who's sitting up if they can bring someone, help them come up, they can get bonus points to keep going up their scorecards. I was just thinking of F45, and I used to love seeing like if everyone wore the heart monitors and you could see where everyone was on and then you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go, and like, that's great. I think that's fantastic. So, in terms of balance between providing the creative service and also needing to be performing as like a well-oiled machine, we've sort of touched on this already, but to hit deadlines and targets, how do you scale creative output without killing that quality? Testing, 1, 2, hello?
Are we on?
Are we on? Hello?
Oh, hey folks, let's take a quick pause to talk about our friends at HubSpot. If you've ever felt like running marketing, sales and customer service all at once is, a little chaotic, HubSpot is here to change that.
It's an all-in-one CRM platform that actually works the way you think. From generating leads to automating follow-ups to helping your team stay aligned. Personally, I love how the automation tools handle the busy work so you can focus on the bigger strategy.
And here's the best part. You can start your HubSpot journey for free using the link in the description. And while you're at it, you're helping to support this podcast.
HubSpot isn't just a tool. It's like having a full team in one platform, helping you grow your business faster and smarter.
Alrighty, it's back to today's episode.
So it's all about a system on the back end, right? So, we have like a whole list on the back end of, about 100 different types of videos that clients commonly make. So the way you scale it is by helping the editors have a playbook for different types of videos that we're doing. So like, hey, if you want to make a number 4, like let's say you want to make a like standard short form video, let's call that a number 4. They know that if a client wants that, they can follow this playbook. And it allows you to maintain speed, maintain quality, but also get an output that a client would like. Because a lot of times, like, there's an old adage in the creative world, which is you can't have 3 of these things, which are good, fast, and cheap. And I remember hearing that over and over again, like as I was sort of coming up in my career doing this. And I remember hearing like, oh, no matter what, you can't have good, fast, and cheap. All right, well, let's call it reasonably priced, but I think you can have good, fast, and reasonably priced.
Yeah.
I think that's totally doable. Yeah. And, a lot of other industries have done that, right? Like there's restaurants that bring you out your food and it's good, fast, and reasonably priced. There's, services that, I had a guy that come fix something electrical at my house the other day. It was good, fast, and reasonably priced. Like all those 3 things happen. It's like, why can't that happen in the creative industry? And the reason is, I think people, if we go back to earlier in our conversation, holding like that truth of reaching and then dreaming with, like pragmatism in your hand at the same time, you kind of have to, right? Like you can't be in the clouds 100% of the time. You have to deliver some sort of result, but you also can't be so rigid that people don't have room to explore.
Yes.
So, creating those basically templates, those stencils, like it's kind of like if you've ever painted by numbers, or if you've ever done like, one of those things, or done like a cross stitch pattern, like those kind of things are what we're looking to do, so that you can still be creative. You could still be creative, but you're sort of like being boundless and bound at the same time, which allows you to scale better.
Yes, I love that. That's fantastic. That paint by numbers too can actually, it's great. So you said that, oh,
it's good, and like
still
there's some
creative.
people that are better at paint by numbers than others.
Yes, some are better than others. So following on from that, in your opinion, what's the invisible rule about scaling creative businesses that you think most founders completely misunderstand?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think there's two different types of schedules.
Okay.
With someone that's creative, and that there's someone that's maybe not as creative, that's more operational, right? So on the one hand, you have one schedule, which is like a manager's schedule, right? Like my schedule is very much a manager's schedule, right? Like this is my 20th meeting today. So like I've been on Zoom since 8:00 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And it's meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, and then your day's over.
Yeah.
There's not much time in that to like think, breathe, and create, right? Where a maker's schedule, someone who's creative, right, needs long stretches of uninterrupted time to do their thing. Yeah. And I think what we've learned over the years it's sort of like a silent killer of creativity, is forcing a manager's schedule onto a maker, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to find a way to interact. You have to find a way to communicate. You have to create what I like to call like the API between the manager and the maker, right? So,
yes.
If you don't know what an API is in programming language, it's like how you connect one system to another system.
I actually
and
know
when you're
that
connecting
one.
with a creative,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But the manager and the maker connect.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that the meetings that you have are like scheduled well in advance, right?
Yes.
So that you're not plopping a bunch of like random meetings on the person's schedule, because if you've ever been in like a creative flow state, oh my gosh, it's the best feeling ever.
Yes.
Time doesn't exist. You're flowing on by. Then all of a sudden you get a ping on Slack from your manager and, hey, can we jump on a quick call? Doesn't work for someone who's creative.
Yes.
Does not work at all. For a manager, that's easy. Like you're in 15-minute time blocks all day long.
Yeah.
Right. So, so it's really easy for a manager's schedule, but like a maker, you need tons of time. So there's that tension between the two of them. And I think a lot of times business owners don't recognize that creators need space to create. And if you give them that space, they will deliver. If you keep bugging them every 10 minutes, hey, where's my thing? Where's my thing? You're distracting them from the flow state that they're in and creating what they need to create.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that too, have you found when you're setting up those meetings with that creative person that they need some time to marinate on the conversation? Like, do you give them a bit of a pre-meeting, like, hey, this is what we're working on, so you have something to come in with, and then give them time and space to really sit with it and not take action straight away? Because I found that in the past with people that are very creative and, time kind of just vanishes into the ether, and they just kind of need that time and space to really process. Do you find that that's something that you have to do from your manager position?
Yeah, I think one thing if you're ever going to schedule a meeting with someone, my number one recommendation is to prepare them for what you're about to talk about.
Yeah.
And it might sound crazy because you want to talk about that stuff in the meeting. Yeah. But before any meeting, right, you want to make sure you send over some material to them. Be like, hey, this is what I want to go over. I want you to think about it a little bit before we jump on the meeting. Yeah. So you let them think about it a little before the meeting. Then in the meeting, you talk about it, brainstorm, maybe come to a decision. And different personality types will have different decision-making process, right? Like I'm a very quick decision maker. Like I can make a decision in 15 minutes. Like that's all I really need. Some people might need a day or two to sleep on it, think about it, really think about a decision over a longer period of time. So I think it's important to give people, number one, the space to think ahead of the meeting. Number two, after the meeting, not force a decision on them in that exact moment. Give them a little bit of time and space to think about it and then come back to you with some ideas. And I think some of the best ideas you'll get are from those, that marination period.
Yes. Yeah, totally. That's definitely something that I had to learn with people that I've worked with in the past. So I'm glad we got to touch on that, because I think it's important, because there are so many different types of people out there, especially in a workplace, and that's where you're going to find them. And so finding a system that works for everyone is really important. So what's one change you'd make earlier to shorten the painful middle of level 4 for someone stepping into it now?
Oh gosh. And by level 4, like, are you defining that? Like, what are you defining level 4 as?
So level 4 is sort of where you're sitting now. So you've got the 31 plus staff, you're operating globally, you've got those leadership layers. So you sort of just stepped into that next phase.
Nice. Okay. So I would say you need to learn once you have a team, right? Like, and we're 90 people today, as of today. You need to learn how to work through people, not work with people.
Yep.
So, but by that, I mean, as you come up in the organization, you get very used to going directly to the person that is doing the thing, right? So, in the past, it was our organization was so flat that I would just go right to the editors, which is the people that are doing the work, the technicians in our business. Now it's like I work through a manager who handles stuff with the managers, who handles stuff with the editors.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want your whole company to be something of a whisper down the lane. So you need time where you're going to get face time with the whole company. So we do monthly all hands meetings where we talk about like big picture ideas, right? But I think it's super important to learn to work through people to achieve results, right? You give people their goals, you give people their objectives, and you let them achieve those goals and objectives and succeed or fail in what they're doing. So I think that's the number one unlock, because I think you can create a lot of bad culture by working down the org chart a bit. By that, I mean, managers won't feel respected in their scope of management. The managers will definitely not feel respected in what they're doing.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you're just going to do their jobs for them. So if you're not working through people, you're not creating any leverageable event for your time, right? Like 1 hour, as your leverage in the organization goes up, a single hour should create 40, 50, 60 hours of output, right? Like, I think about, at 90 people working 40 hours a week, that's 3,600 hours of productivity. I could never be on all the meetings. I can never make all decisions. It's impossible, right? I only have, say I work a 60-hour week. I only have 60 hours to work in that given week. So like, you need to learn how to turn a 1 hour meeting into 3,600 hours of productivity. For us, it's, that's sort of what it is, right?
Yes.
Like 1 hour in equals 3,600 hours out on the back end.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a really strong skill to have, is to have meetings that are high impact, low time volume and can produce results, right? And not leave any questions or not a space for just gas bagging. It's really like, okay, here, this is what we're doing. This isn't dream state. This is what we're up to, because they can get away from you. In the past, I'm sure our listeners can resonate at some degree. We've all been in those meetings where you're like, this could have been an email.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So something we hear often from leaders, specifically around that level 3, level 4, is that there's a lot of personal growth that they have to do, and changes they have to make personally, in order to manage those complex scaling businesses. So what did those changes look like for you?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's been so many evolutions of this over the years that I think we probably need another hour to go through like the unpacking of like the psychology of how things change.
We'll have another episode on that.
But I think I could sum it down into one sentence.
Okay.
And this is something I tell my leadership team all the time. Your goal in leading your team and your goal in leading a company is to be the person that you needed in your darkest moment, right? And the person that came to you in your darkest moment. Like we've done an exercise with my leadership team, and I tell them to close their eyes, picture the person in your life who was there for you in your darkest moments. So you can come to it for anything in your life. And that's the person you have to be. You have to be the rock for other people. And the reason I put it like that, and to unpack it a little bit, is because you need to unpack the layers and layers of ego that you have about yourself in order to be a really, really strong leader. And I think if you're able to lead from a place of humility, lead from a place of truth, lead from a place of admitting where you're weak and showing your team like, hey, like I'm not 100% perfect, right? Like, I think if you can lead from that place, people tend to latch on and trust you a little bit more, and people tend to follow you a little bit more. And I think a lot of what I had to let go of was this whole thinking that I could do it all and I can carry it all on my back, myself, right? And there's no way that I would be able to get to where I am today without having the people around me. In order to have people around you, you have to know how to lead them, how to have them follow you, right? So, I think it's sort of a lot of letting go of that junk that builds up in all of us over the years, and figuring out like, okay, why am I reactive in this? Why am I acting defensive? Why can I not, why am I constantly interrupting someone when they're talking? Why can't I listen to people better? Like all these things, in order to be the best possible leader you could possibly be, you have to unpack all these ugly, ugly truths about yourself. And it's a never ending journey, right? Like it will never stop. Because once you hit another level, it's like, okay, like who is the person that I claim to be now, right? Like, and what do I have to do to prove myself right in getting there?
Yeah. I think self-reflection is like an absolute standard must-have quality to be a good leader. You have to be willing to carry the mirror in your pocket at all times. I think what you've shared, a lot of our listeners will resonate with. So what was the single hardest moment of your journey, the real boss fight before you could move into the next level, sort of where it felt like business might actually break?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many moments over the years where I thought things were going to end, right? And I think at the beginning there was like a few moments where like we just straight up ran out of money and we're like, okay, what do we do next, right? So that's those are a few of them, but I think two of the most defining moments in my entrepreneurship career so far came actually within the same like year and a half time span. So 2020 hit, COVID hit, and we've been working with a lot of hospitality clients. So think like hotels and events and all that stuff that shut down during COVID. And we went from having like a thriving business that was profitable, that was doing well, that was taking care of us, to losing 80% of that overnight. And me and my business partner looked at each other. We're like, okay, we got like 3-4 months of cash left. We don't have much cash flow. So like, what are we going to do to survive? So we start to pivot to the editing thing. And that was sort of like where we start to unlock things. And 2020 ended up being our best year ever. Then we made a second decision that year, which was, we found this business, which was also a vendor of ours. And we started working with them a little bit more in depth. And we worked with them for about 2 years. And we made the decision to like integrate and merge the two businesses together. And we put a lot of money into the venture, and we get to sending over the last payment to the person we had partnered with, and the person said, all right, now that I got all this money, I'm done with you guys. I'm ready to walk. I'm walking away from this whole thing.
What?
And our revenue again went from, probably around that time, it was maybe like $150,000, $200,000 a month, went from that to $20,000 a month overnight. Ouch. So, again, at that point we had maybe like 6 months of cash left. And we're like, me and my business partner were like, we were exhausted, right? We had gone through COVID. We had like basically rebuilt the business again. And we were I remember the two of us, we were sitting on a park bench and like with our hands in our heads, and we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Like, and it felt like to me, I sort of pictured my life like the Matrix in that moment. And like Neo was standing there and he was like, do you want to take the red pill or do you want to take the blue pill, right? Do you want to keep going or you want to quit? And like you could take and swallow the blue pill and like go back to normal and like maybe start another business, maybe like go get a job somewhere. Yeah. Or the red pill is like, go see what you're made of, right? Like, I looked at it, I was like, we got to see what we're made of. Like what is life if you don't see what you're made of? So we took that challenge, and we started rebuilding the business. At the same time, like what was very interesting is we were like really angry and bitter towards the person that did this.
Yeah, of course.
And I remember we're like 3 months in, we're sort of stalling, we're sort of building some revenue, but it wasn't like getting far. But we're also like trying to fight this battle with both ourselves and legally with this other person. And I said to my business partner, I was like, hey, why don't we just like drop this whole legal thing? I know a bunch of money, whatever, but like it's holding us back and we're not getting anywhere with it. And it's holding us back and we're holding on to anger. So let's let it go and let's flip this whole equation. Let's actually be grateful for this horrible thing that happened to us and say it's one of the best things that happened to us. We learned a lot of lessons. We'll never do it again. And we have like some battle scars and a great story to tell. And wouldn't it be crazy that if 5 years from now we can get on a podcast and say we've rebuilt the whole thing and now we have 90 employees? And like, you know, we said that to each other and we're like, all right, let's do it again. And we got back up and rebuilt the whole thing one brick at a time. And I think that was like a defining moment for me because it's like, okay, like I didn't just like I've done this now in the same business. I've rebuilt the whole thing like 3 times. So it's like, okay, I know how to build the thing. So like I'm not like stressed out about the thing falling apart ever again.
Yeah, wow. You definitely have a very calm demeanor about you. Is there anything that you do personally, like any rituals or any like things that kind of bring you back to yourself? Because I know that, you know, sometimes it can be a bit chaotic and like if you get you on your good day, everything's, you know, going great. But how do you pull through those tougher days?
I think it always, I know this sounds like super corny, but like when things are tough and I'm not feeling centered, I come back to one thing, which is gratitude. And I think gratitude starts with the simple practice of just taking a breath, right? You know, if you take a single breath, be grateful for that breath. You know, maybe in one day you won't be able to breathe, right? You know, you know, and you start thinking about that, right? Like, oh, what am I grateful for? Oh, we have some great employees. We have awesome customers. You know, I have an amazing fiance who I love to death, right? Like all this stuff, like, you know, floods into your mind and you're like, okay, like what's wrong with the next second? Yes. Right? Like there's nothing wrong with the next second. I'm here, right? I'm here right now. So like, how do you center yourself? You're just like, you have to constantly have that force of like grounding yourself, standing on your heels. Yeah. And also that constant push of like, how much better can I get? And like those two things kind of can exist at the same time. Cause you swing too far one direction and you end up sitting in a field all day and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for this grass, you know, like, and on the other, you know, and which is great, but like, you know, that's not going to get me to the goals that I have, which is fine. Like, if that's your thing, go for it. But, you know, and on the other side of things, like, you know, for me, like coming back to that gratitude, just kind of just grounds you and chills you out. Like, you know, even in just general life, someone like cuts you off in traffic, like, just take a breath. All right, no one hit you. No one's fine. Everything's moved. Let's move on. Take a breath. Why waste anger, right? Like why waste the minute? Is sort of my philosophy with it. So I think that's how I'm able to stay like calm and centered and not make mountains out of a molehill, if you will.
That's great advice. So for our founders currently playing at that level 3, level 4, what's one piece of advice that you would carve into stone?
That's a great question. If you're stepping back and leading a company, I would say the one piece of advice I would tell you is build the people that build the business. At the end of the day, as you move up the chain in entrepreneurship and you're managing more people, overseeing more things, your job is to unlock what's inside of people. We did an exercise a few months ago within our company where we sat down as a leadership organization and I asked everyone in the company, what are your dreams in life? If you could be doing anything, let's say I handed you $1 billion, what would you do with your life? And, you know, we got answers like, oh, I'd buy some rental property. I'd go skiing. I'd travel to Europe. And what we did at the end of that meeting, sort of like a trick question, because I took that vision board and I put it all together. I my EA like make me like a big picture of every single person's dream in the company. And I came to everyone and I said, listen, through what we're doing here, you know, you might not love every single day that you have in this job, but I never want you guys to lose touch of the dreams that you have, because I'm holding all of your dreams in my back pocket. Like I have them all. I have your vision board. I look at it like once a month, and I know that's your dream. So I'm not going to let you let go of that. And I'm going to build a space that's big enough to hold all of your dreams inside of what we're building. So what I need you to do is I need you to hold on to that dream and think about what you're working towards, because you're working towards that dream, probably a bunch of other dreams that you didn't even tell me, but you don't want to let go of that. So the key is at the end of the day, it's people, right? It's and understanding what their motivations are and making sure you can hold, in the same space you can hold your own stuff, you can hold their things and put them on your back as well.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. The greatest currency on earth is your effect on others, right? You need to write a book, I think, Dave. You've got a lot of great insights for leaders.
I am working on one. I don't want to say the title yet.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. 6 pages in.
Make sure you get us a copy, because I'm... well, this has been such a fun interview, and I'm going to spring something on you. At the end of each interview, we like to get to know the person on the other end a little bit more closely. So we throw 10 rapid fire questions at you. So it's just a little game. I hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. So are you an early riser or a night owl?
Early riser.
One piece of tech that you couldn't live without?
My cell phone.
Cell phone. What was your first job?
I was a lifeguard at a
nice.
summer camp.
Oh, cool. Office or work from home?
Work from home.
What's the best investment you've ever made?
Coaching in myself.
Good answer. What's your coffee order?
I don't drink coffee.
Ooh.
Water.
Do you drink tea?
No tea. I'm like a weirdo. So
Yeah, wow.
no coffee, no tea,
No,
no caffeine.
unicorn. Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Yeah.
No other choice.
Your go-to productivity hack?
Hire an EA.
And if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what career would you choose?
I haven't thought about anything else. I would just do this.
Yep.
So.
There you go. What's your book or podcast recommendation?
The Business Game Show, obviously. But besides that, Acquiring Minds is one of my favorite.
Okay, awesome. We'll have to check that out. Okay, and finally, if business truly is a game, Dave Feinman, what's your definition of winning?
My definition of winning the game of business is doing something that makes me happy and spreading happiness to others.
Great answer. All right. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for all your insight and sharing a bit of your world with us and walking us through the processes, bottlenecks, all the things. I've taken away so much from this conversation. So I really appreciate your time. So where can our listeners find you and connect with you online?
Yeah. So you could find me. The best way to find me is on Instagram. Okay. My handle is @David_Feinman. And if you send me a little message there, actually, and say the business game, I'll give a little gift to your audience, which we've hired hundreds of video editors over the years. So we made this little book on how to hire a video editor that doesn't suck. So I'm happy to share that with your audience for free.
Oh, wow. So, thank you. I'll just repeat that for our listeners. So if you reach out to Dave on Instagram, if you mention the business game, he's got a little gift for you. So that sounds amazing. Thank you so much for that. So that's all we've got time for. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. If this episode resonated with you, follow the business game on your platform of choice so you'll keep hearing more of the episodes like this. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.